Hey, I'm Shawn Martinez, and today I'll be reading Nethergrave by Gloria Skurzynski. Beacon Heights Academy lets boys excel. What a dumb motto. Did it ever occur to the school administrators when they collected the $1,000 a month tuition fee per student that maybe a boy didn't want to excel? Jeremy wished the motto was Beacon Heights Academy lets boys alone. Each term, every student in the academy had to participate in at least one after-school activity. Drama, debate, the science fair, or a sport. Even if the student didn't board at the expensive, exclusive boys' school, but lived in town and went home every day after classes. Like Jeremy. Jeremy had chosen soccer, not because he liked it, not because he was any good at it, but because the coach was so determined to field a winning team that Jeremy knew he'd never get played, ever in a real game, rarely even in practice. Until today. It was the last week of the spring term, which meant that to fulfill the school's requirement, Jeremy would need to play for at least 1 minute. And this would be a real game. The Beacon Heights Bulldogs against a tough team from across the valley, the Midvale Marauders. All day long, Jeremy had been wondering if he could fake stomach cramps or appendicitis, but the coach would never believe him. Jeremy might be a scared, skinny 8th-grade wimp, but he was a healthy one. It didn't matter that he'd deliberately forgotten to bring his jersey and his skin guards to school. "Dig some out of the box," Coach barked. From the bottom of the smelly equipment box, Jeremy pulled ratty shin guards and a sagging, much too large red jersey. When he ran out of the field house, a couple of his fellow 8th graders elbowed each other and snickered. Maybe because of what Jeremy was wearing, but more likely because that was the way they usually reacted to him. He sat on the bench so long his bony rump started to hurt. As the score seesawed, first the Beacon Heights Bulldogs were ahead, then the Midvale Marauders. Jeremy kept praying that the coach had forgotten about him. Not a chance. Coach was checking the list of boys from Beacon Heights, frowning at it, crossing off names with a pencil. "Jeremy, you!" Coach barked. "Get out there! Replace the forward!" Shoulders hunched, Jeremy ran onto the field. Inside his head, he was great at sports and games. On a computer, he was unbeatable. He understood the geometry of basketball, baseball, football, and soccer. And he knew all the rules because he memorized things so easily. If only he'd had a reasonable amount of coordination, plus a little bit of muscle, he might have played soccer passably. But when Jeremy ran, his head and neck, arms and hands, legs and feet looked like a bunch of paper clips that had been shaken up in a bag, hooked together haphazardly. They stuck out at all kinds of weird angles. The coach blew his whistle. Jeremy stumbled forward, trying to get into the open so one of his teammates could pass him the ball. As if they would. All of them knew that a pass to Jeremy would mean losing the ball to the Midvale Marauders. Yet there it was, the soccer ball, and it looked like it was coming right at him. He got a foot on it, lost it, and in the mayhem of other boys' arms and legs, noticed the ball rolling loose. Running after it, he started dribbling toward the goal. Unbelievable! He was moving that soccer ball down the field, and it appeared he might even kick a goal, his first in his whole 2 years at Beacon Heights. Concentrating, pumping with adrenaline. He didn't notice that his teammates weren't anywhere near him. No one was helping him. He had no protection, no chance to pass, but it didn't matter. Because Jeremy was going to do it. Make a goal. He pulled his eyes off the ball just for a second, barely in time to notice that the goalie was a Beacon Heights Bulldog. Frantically, the goalie waved his arms and shook his head, but not in time to stop Jeremy's foot, which had already begun its trajectory to hit the ball into the net. A perfect kick. Jeremy scored! The Midvale Marauders. He kicked a goal at the wrong end of the field, scoring a point for the opposing team. Coach looked ready to burst a blood vessel as he screamed at Jeremy to get off the field. The Marauders looked ready to bust a gut, punching one another in hilarity while they laughed themselves stupid. The Bulldogs, well, Jeremy knew what would be coming later from his teammates. He was used to it. At school, he was constantly getting tripped in the halls, in the aisles, on the gym floor, in the locker room. The other guys had raised tripping Jeremy to an art form. He figured that today, since he'd blown the game, he'd be in for a world-class tripping. He was right. In the locker room, 3 of his teammates choreographed it perfectly. As one tripped him, another bumped Jeremy's left shoulder from behind, while a third boy, in front of him, shoved Jeremy's right shoulder, whipping him around to be pitched down onto the bench. "Jeremy, grab a towel and hold it under your nose," the coach bellowed in disgust. "You're getting blood all over the floor." The bleeding stopped, but the swelling didn't. Afterward, walking home, Jeremy hung inside the late afternoon shadows so no one would notice him. He hoped his mother wouldn't get home until the swelling had gone down, at least a bit. If she saw it, she'd just sigh and shake her head in that pitying way, wondering how she'd ever produce such an incompetent son. But his mother rarely got home before 8 or 9 at night. Usually she had dinner with a client. Jeremy didn't have time to worry about his father seeing his swollen nose, since his father never saw him at all. Once in a while, Jeremy would find his father's picture in Forbes magazine, or in the business section of U.S. News and World Report, which listed him as one of the computer industry's rich, triumphant successes. He owned a corporation that designed printed circuit boards. With Bill Gates and Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, Jeremy's father had been in the right place at the right time when the computer revolution took off. Not once since his parents' divorce 12 years ago had Jeremy and his father come face to face. Like clockwork, though, every year on Jeremy's birthday, a van would back up to the front door of his house. 2 techno-brains would carry in a brand new computer with the most powerful chip produced that particular year, with the greatest amount of energy, the fastest modem, and the biggest monitor screen. They'd install the new computer and transfer all Jeremy's previous programs onto its hard drive, then pack up last year's computer to haul it away. Did his father actually order the world's best PC each year for Jeremy's birthday? Did he speak the words, "I want the top-of-the-line personal computer system delivered to my son"? Or was it just a digital instruction, programmed to come up automatically on the screens of the 2 techno-brains? It didn't matter. Equipment like that would have made Jeremy the envy of his friends, if he had any. He unlocked the front door. Even though he was hungry, he didn't open the refrigerator, because the clock showed 4:05. He was 15 minutes late. He'd wasted too much time skulking in the shadows on his way home. Hurrying to his room, he threw his books on the bed, dropped his jacket on the floor, and turned on his computer. On the screen, he checked his contact list. The others were already online, their names highlighted in blue. Hangman, Princess Di, and Dr. Dead. When he clicked on his own online name, Exterminator, the screen split from 3 to 4 boxes in the chat module he shared with his online friends. "You're late, X," Hangman typed, the words flowing into the right-hand box on top of the screen. X was what they called Jeremy, because Exterminator was too long to type. "Sorry," Jeremy typed back in his own box. He automatically got the one at top left. "We didn't do jokes yet. We waited," Princess Di typed. "So begin now." The words from Dr. Dead marched slowly across his quarter of the screen. He wasn't a very fast typist. The 4 of them met online every day after school. They'd come across one another in a music chat room dedicated to the Grateful Dead. Eventually, after a couple of weeks of meeting in that much larger chat room, they decided to form their own module, limited to the 4 of them. Calling themselves the Deathheads, they chose online names that had to do with death, and began every afternoon's chat session with dead jokes. Princess Di says, "Okay, here goes. Question. What does a songwriter do after he dies?" Answer. He decomposes. Hangman says, "Good one. Here's mine. Question. What does a walking corpse call his parents?" Answer. Mummy and Daddy. Dr. Dead says, "Ha ha." Q. How do you kill a vegetarian vampire? A. Put a stake through his heart. Hangman says, "All right. Your turn, X." With all that had happened that day, Jeremy hadn't thought up a dead joke. He hesitated, then typed, "Q. What kind of pants do ghosts wear?" Boo jeans. Hangman says, "Bad one, X." Dr. Dead says, "Your joke stinks, X. It's from preschool. You better do better than that." Princess Di says, "Yeah, you better do better. The Grateful Dead could have made a song out of that." Hangman says, "Your penalty, X? Find 2 excellent dead jokes for tomorrow. I mean excellent. Jeremy was the fastest typist in the group. His fingers flew across the keys as he entered. I apologize, guys. Today was a busy day for me. I played in a soccer tournament at school, and I kicked the winning goal. Everyone in the stands jumped up, and they were yelling my name and cheering. So cool. Everyone in the... Then, my mom and dad took me out for burgers and fries to celebrate. So that's why I logged on late today. Even this morning, I was too busy to look up dead jokes. In gym, they announced I'm going to be the captain of the wrestling team. If his online friends only knew it, that was the biggest joke Jeremy could have possibly told them. Now he typed even faster, trying to get it all in before the other three deadheads started up again. After they made me captain, the wrestling team guys poured a bottle of Evian water over my head. They said it should have been champagne, except, we'd all get kicked out of the school if we did that. So I was all wet, and I had to borrow a hairdryer from Mrs. Jepson. She's my French teacher, and she's a real babe, and she likes me. Like, more than just a regular student. I think she'd go out with me if I asked her. He told his online friends he was a high school junior. They thought he was a star athlete and a student body officer and a lot of other things Jeremy was careful to keep track of so he wouldn't forget what he'd told them. To keep his lies straight, he printed out each day's online chat and saved the hard copies in a 3-ring binder. Hangman says, "Gotta go now." Jeremy typed, "Already? I just got here." Hangman says, "Gotta write a heavy-duty report for Earth Science." Princess Di says, "Me too. Gotta go to meet a guy. Don't freak, Exterminator. I know you want to be my guy, but you're in Ohio and I'm in Oregon." In real life, IRL, Jeremy lived in Pasadena, California, but his father had been born in Idaho. So that's where he told his online friends he was from. Dr. Dead said, "I'm out of here too, guys. Gotta do some major surfing. The ocean kind. Surf's up too great to waste. Find you all tomorrow. Don't forget, X, you owe us 2 good jokes." On the screen, the names of his 3 friends turned green. A color change meant they'd gone offline. Then their box disappeared, leaving Jeremy's words alone on the screen. It wasn't that they deserted him, he told himself. He'd been late. They'd probably chatted for quite a while before he got there. At least they hadn't done the dead jokes until he logged on. Why hadn't he come up with a better dead joke? Maybe they didn't like him today because he typed such a rotten joke. He felt himself sinking into his expensive padded office chair, weighed down as if he'd swallowed a heavy paving brick. His last words, "Already? I just got here," vibrating on the screen. He sighed. Might as well print out the day's chat and file it in this binder. His cursor was on its way to the print command when his name appeared on screen. Jeremy, followed by a question mark. One of his online buddies must be back. He typed, "I'm here." More words followed. "Click on your middle mouse button, Jeremy, and turn on your microphone." When he clicked the mouse, the screen exploded with color. Swirling waves of such brilliant hue, he raised his hand to shade his eyes. Hey, what is this?" he asked out loud into the mic. A man's voice, deep and mellow, answered through the audio system. "Welcome to Nethergrave, Jeremy." On Jeremy's 21-inch monitor screen with its 16 million colors, a whirling vortex appeared, so three-dimensional he felt he could dive into it. Never had he seen color this intense, or screen resolution so high. It was more vivid than an IMAX theater movie. He stared, unblinking, until it seemed he was being sucked inside the vortex. Wow! What fantastic imaging, he thought. But then he quit thinking, so he could give himself entirely to the illusion of flying through the worlds. They rotated around him. He was a weightless body, caught in a fast-spinning, kaleidoscopic tunnel. As he neared the end of the vortex, he saw the face of a man growing larger and larger, until it filled the screen. A real face? Probably not. It looked more like a mask. The black eyebrows angled upward, too symmetrical to be natural. Beneath the cheekbones, green-tinged shadows formed triangles, with the apex at the bottom, just touching the corners of the too red, too smiling mouth. Black hair peaked in the corner of the man's forehead, then swept back as sleekly as if it were molded plastic. "Who are you?" Jeremy asked. His lips moved in not quite perfect synchronization. The man answered, "I'm Nethermagus. You've entered my domain." Jeremy glanced at the internet address at the top of the screen. http nethergrave.xx. Never heard of a domain called .xx, but then new ones got added to the internet every day. The man, or the mask, continued. "Before you come any further into Nethergrave, Jeremy, select a persona for yourself. Your very own avatar. You can choose whoever you would like it to be, or I should say, whatever you most like it to be." One by one, images appeared on the screen. Not simply masks like Nethermagus's, but full-body images. A unicorn, a princess wearing a tall, peaked cap with a flimsy scarf wafting from it, a Roman soldier with a bronze chestplate, a falcon, a Medusa who had hair of writhing snakes, a Japanese warrior, his samurai sword raised as if to strike, a hood shadowing his face so that no features showed, only glowing eyes, a sinewy jaguar that loped gracefully, its muscles bunching beneath a sleek, tawny coat that gave off shimmers of light, like ripples of sheet lightning on a hot midnight. "That one," Jeremy said, pointing. "That jaguar." Immediately he saw clawed feet running just ahead of his line of vision. They were his feet, because he was the jaguar, looking out through gleaming, molten jaguar eyes. Shifting his glance from side to side, he saw whiskers projecting outward from the edges of his face, and a moist black nose. He had to almost cross his eyes to see the nose in front of his face, but there it was, a jaguar nose. When he tried wrinkling it, the muzzle curled as if in a snarl, but it didn't hurt like his real nose did. But wait! His real nose had stopped hurting. Had it actually become the animal nose? It didn't matter. This was a fantastic role-playing game, with a great first-person point of view. It felt as if he were inside the jaguar, looking out through its eyes. "It's so cool!" he exclaimed. "I never knew a game existed with graphics and special effects like these. Can I download it so I can have it on my hard drive?" Still smiling, Nethermagus merely answered, "There's much more to see. Come forward." Jeremy no longer needed the mouse. He just willed himself to move. Mental control. Wow! He'd read about it, but this was a first for him. On his monitor screen, the terrain spread out before him, and then surrounded him. He saw thick, densely leaved trees with strange faces and bodies, animal and human, entwined in their branches. How could colors be dark and at the same time so vibrant? And the sounds! Frogs croaked, waves splashed, waters dripped. He heard dim growls, subdued roars, the soft moaning of wind. But none of it was scary. It felt warm and dark and primitive, as though Jeremy knew this place, as though he'd been here long ago, when he was a baby waiting to be born. "Move around, Jeremy the Jaguar," Nethermagus told him. "Explore my domain." With his shoulders and haunches swiveling powerfully, Jeremy stalked the rainforest, feeling every muscle as it contracted in his perfectly coordinated body. He was passing cleanly through solid, odd, swaying creatures. A clown head on a seal's body, a mermaid on a swing made of moss, a pool with dozens of submerged birds, their feathers changing colors as they fluttered beneath the water. "I gotta email your URL address to my friends," he cried. "They'll freak over this." "Your friends, the deadheads," Nethermagus said, not as a question, but as a statement. "How do you know?" "I'm a magus. I know things," the mask answered. "I know about Princess Di, the only one of your group who is what she says she is. A pretty girl, an excellent student, but she's growing bored with the rest of you, Jeremy. Tomorrow she'll leave you, because she has outgrown your little chat quartet." Figures swam past Jeremy, exotic gargoyles and pale spheres as transparent as air. Then I guess it'll be just us three guys, he answered, shrugging, surprised at how mighty his shoulders felt in the shrug. Just Dr. Dead and Hangman and me. Nethermagus murmured, Hangman will be lost to you too, Jeremy, although not because he wants to be. His school grades are so bad that tonight his parents will remove the computer from his room. He will be, as you young people say, grounded from his internet until his grades improve, which they will not, because very soon he will join a street gang. You couldn't possibly know all that stuff, Jeremy said, scornfully, as his fingernails, dug into soft turf. No, dug in the keyboard. This was a game, the most incredible game he's ever played, but it's still a game. His father's people must have programmed it into the computer's hard drive months ago, as a surprise for Jeremy, just before they delivered the new computer on his birthday. They probably figured Jeremy would stumble onto the game right away, long before this. Maybe, during all these months, his dad had been hoping to hear from him, waiting for Jeremy to thank him. What if he had the game designed especially for Jeremy, and was right now sitting expectantly in that big office Jeremy had once seen in a picture in Newsweek, just waiting for a phone call from the son he'd abandoned 12 years earlier? Or maybe not. Come back, Jeremy, Nethermagus urged gently. Don't you want to know about Dr. Dead? No. When Jeremy shook his head violently, his ears moved in an odd way, as though they were flexible and had grown higher on his head. Wait, I guess I do. Yes, Nethermagus told him. Dr. Dead has deceived you far more than you've deceived any of the others. Me? Deceive? Oh, I guess you mean those stories I make up online. You know about them? I know everything about you, Jeremy. I know that today you disgraced yourself on the soccer field. A truly humiliating experience. But back to Dr. Dead. He isn't a boy like you. He isn't a boy at all. He's a 52-year-old stroke victim. He can't walk. Wrong. He said he was going surfing this afternoon. The deep voice remained gentle. He's confined to his bed, Jeremy. Soon he'll be moved to a nursing home that doesn't have an internet connection. And you'll be all alone, Jeremy, abandoned by each of your online friends. Jeremy swallowed, but his throat made an animal sound like a whimper. What do I do? The red smile on the face, a mask, grew even wider, as though it had been sliced by the samurai warrior's sword. Stay with us, Jeremy. Live forever in Nethergrave. Here no one will abandon you. I promise. How do I get to Nethergrave? You're already there. Jeremy? The call came from outside his bedroom door. After a moment, the door opened and his mother called again, Jeremy! So sorry I'm late. I was with a really important client. I just checked the refrigerator and you didn't eat your dinner. Why not? Entering the room, she peered around for her son. His school books had been flung on the bed, and his computer monitor glowed. But Jeremy wasn't there. She bent down to pick up his jacket from the floor. As she straightened, she caught sight of the computer screen. On it, a jaguar raced through a clearing in a rainforest, its lean, sinewy body stretching and compressing as it ran, its tail soaring proudly. Struck by the animal's power and the incredible gracefulness of its movements, she stood quiet for a minute, staring, pressing Jeremy's jacket against her chest. The image of the jaguar moved in her in a way she didn't understand. The animal was more than beautiful. It looked triumphant. She wondered if Jeremy had seen it. Thank you.